Okay, so I want you to do something for me right now. Open your phone, go to your bank app, add up every account, every fixed deposit, every SIP balance, subtract your loans, your credit card dues, your EMIs outstanding, and tell me honestly, what's the number? For most people watching this, that number is either embarrassingly small, zero, or, and this is the one nobody talks about, negative. You literally own less than nothing. And here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not because you're bad with money. It's because nobody ever showed you what this journey actually looks like. Nobody told you what changes at 5 lakh rupees, what unlocks at 50 lakh rupees, what completely breaks your brain at 1 crore rupees, and what life is genuinely like beyond that. So today, I'm going to walk you through every single level of net worth from absolute zero to 100 crore rupees. And I'm going to show you exactly what's different about each one. Not just the math, the psychology. Because that's where most people actually get stuck. I'm Rohan, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart, hardworking people never seem to build the kind of wealth they deserve. If you're someone who earns a decent salary, you're not broke, but somehow at the end of every month, the savings just don't add up the way you hoped, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Alright, let's get into it. So the first level isn't even a level, it's a whole. And according to TransUnion Sibyl for every Indian 2025 report, over 18.3 crore Indians are now actively monitoring their credit scores, a 27% jump year on year. Let that land. That's more people than the entire population of Brazil actively checking their credit health. Now, not all of it is catastrophic debt, but a significant chunk, especially credit card debt running at 36 to 42% annualized interest and high-interest personal loans at 18% plus, is genuinely destructive. Here's what life looks like below zero. Every rupee you earn is already spent before it arrives. You're not building, you're treading water. And psychologically, this is brutal because your brain literally starts treating money as something that exists to disappear, not to grow. The exit from this level has nothing to do with investing. Zero. Don't let anyone sell you SIPs when you have a personal loan at 18% interest. You need to attack the debt first. Here's the math. If you have 3 lakh rupees in personal loan at 18% per annum, that's 54,000 rupees a year. 4,500 rupees a month just in interest. That's basically evaporating. Before you invest a single rupee, kill that. The guaranteed return on paying off an 18% loan is 18%. You will not beat that in the market consistently. Now you're at zero or slightly above. This feels like nothing, and honestly, it kind of is. But this stage has one job and one job only. Build your emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting in a liquid fund or a high-yield savings account. Not a fixed deposit because you need it accessible. Not in stocks because you will panic sell at the worst time. Just boring, accessible cash. Now you might be thinking, Rohan, I can barely save 5,000 rupees a month. How am I supposed to build a 3 lakh rupees emergency fund? And here's what most people don't realize. The amount matters less than the habit. I'm serious. The person who saves 3,000 rupees a month consistently will out-accumulate the person who saves 30,000 rupees sporadically in almost every real-world scenario. Here's the psychological shift that happens at this level. Before you have an emergency fund, every unexpected expense is a crisis. Your scooter breaks down, crisis. Medical bill, crisis. You lose your job, catastrophe. With even 2 to 3 lakh rupees sitting behind you, those same events become inconveniences. That emotional safety fundamentally changes how you make decisions. You stop making desperate choices. You stop taking the first job offer because you're terrified. The money doesn't just sit there, it changes you. And that's before it earns a single rupee of return. Okay, this is where things start to get interesting. According to SEBI's Investor Survey 2025, only 9.5% of Indian households invest in securities markets, equities, mutual funds, ETFs. Only 9.5%. Which means if you have even started investing in markets, you're already in a small, intentional minority of this country, even if it doesn't feel that way. Here's the thing about this range. This is where compounding starts to be visible rather than theoretical. Let me show you the math. You have 10 lakh rupees invested in a diversified equity index fund. If it returns 12% annually, which is roughly the Nifty 500 TRI's long-run average, after 10 years you have 31 lakh rupees without adding a single additional rupee. After 20 years, 96 lakh rupees, almost a crore, from 10 lakh rupees without touching it. Now add 10,000 rupees a month of SIPs on top of that, and at 12% over 20 years, you're looking at roughly 2 crore rupees. This is the level where the single most important financial decision of your life gets made, and most people completely blow it. They take that 10 to 15 lakh rupees and they buy a car upgrade. They fund a wedding, they take a vacation. All completely valid life choices, but they broke compounding's most important law: time in the market. This is also where your tax strategy starts to genuinely matter. Are you maxing your ATC? Are you putting at least 1.5 lakh rupees in ELSS? Are you using your employer's NPS contribution as a negotiating tool? At 5 to 25 lakh rupees net worth, you're probably in the 20-30% tax bracket. Every lakh you legitimately shield from tax is worth 20 to 30,000 rupees in actual money. That's not accounting tricks, that's just not leaving your own money on the table.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. This is the range where I see the biggest psychological transformation in people and also the biggest mistakes. The 25 lakh rupees to 1 crore rupees journey is where your money starts doing meaningful work alongside you. At 50 lakh rupees invested at 12%, your portfolio is generating roughly 6 lakh rupees a year in returns, even if you never look at it. That's 50,000 rupees a month from doing nothing, just existing. Think about that. Your money is now working a full-time job for you. Not a great job yet, but a job. Here's what most people don't realize about this stage. The jump from 25 lakh rupees to 1 crore rupees feels impossibly far when you're starting. But the math at 12% returns with regular SIPs of 30,000 rupees a month gets you there in roughly 12 to 13 years from scratch. Less if your income grows, which it almost certainly will if you're intentional about your career. But here's where the psychology gets dangerous. At this level, you start having options, and options are terrifying for most people's portfolios. This is the level where people start chasing small cap direct stocks, cryptocurrency, real estate with borrowed money, angel investments in a friend's startup. All of these might be fine in small doses as part of a portfolio. The problem is that people abandon their boring, consistent compounding SIPs for the excitement of getting rich faster. And here's the data that should sober you up. A 2025 SEBI study found that 91% of individual traders in equity F&O lost money in FY25 alone, with total net losses crossing 1.06 lakh crore rupees. Not a few percent of their money, lost money, net negative. The people making money in F&O are largely institutional. You are not the exception. I say this with love. The winning move here is boring. Keep the index funds, add some mid-cap exposure if you want some spice, maybe 20 to 25% of the equity portion. Stay the course. Not revolutionary advice, I know, but this is the range where boring people in boring funds are building legacies. 1 crore rupees, the number that every middle-class Indian family has been told represents success. And look, it is a real milestone. According to the Mercedes-Benz Hurun India Wealth Report 2025, India now has 8.81 lakh millionaire households defined as net worth of 8.5 crore rupees or more, roughly 0.31% of Indian households. So yes, it is genuinely rarefied territory. But here's the uncomfortable reality that nobody tells you. In 2026, 1 crore rupees is not what it used to be. At a 7% safe withdrawal rate, which is aggressive, but let's use it, 1 crore rupees generates roughly 7 lakh rupees a year or about 58,000 rupees a month. That's a decent income in a tier 2 city. It is not financial independence in Mumbai or Bengaluru, where the average middle-class household with kids is spending 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees a month. The real psychological shift at this level is the transition from income earner to asset owner. You start thinking in terms of return on capital, not just salary. And this is where the truly wealthy mindset begins. The question stops being, how much can I earn this month? And starts being, how efficiently is my capital working? This is also the level where tax planning becomes a serious game. Are you using HUF structures? Are you thinking about your capital gains harvesting strategy? Are you aware that long-term capital gains above 1,25,000 rupees per year are now taxed at 12.5% after the 2024 Union Budget changes? Getting these details right at the 1 to 5 crore rupees range can save you lakhs per year. Okay, 5 crore rupees and above. I want to be honest with you. I am going to describe a life that a very small percentage of people in this country live. But I want you to understand it because understanding where the destination is helps you make better decisions at every earlier stage. At 5 crore rupees in invested assets at 12% long-term equity returns, your portfolio generates 60 lakh rupees a year, 5 lakh rupees a month. Many people in this range are genuinely mathematically financially independent. Their assets are earning more than their lifestyle costs. And here's where the psychology completely inverts, and this is what nobody talks about. Below 1 crore rupees, money anxiety is about not having enough. Above 5 crore rupees, money anxiety becomes about preservation. Suddenly, you're terrified of losing what you've built. This is why you see wealthy people making bizarrely conservative investment decisions, leaving massive amounts in FDs at 6.5 to 7% while inflation quietly erodes it. The psychology of protecting wealth is fundamentally different from the psychology of building it. This is also the level where business ownership starts to clearly outperform salaried wealth accumulation. India's 2025 to 26 MSME data shows over 78 crore registered enterprises in the country. The wealth gap between successful business owners and high-earning salaried professionals widens dramatically in this range. Not because salaries are not good, they are, but because business ownership allows for equity creation at a scale that employment structurally cannot. At this level, you're also having completely different conversations. You're talking to private wealth managers, not mutual fund distributors. You're looking at AIFs, alternative investment funds, which in India have a minimum ticket size of 1 crore rupees. You're potentially making angel investments. Real estate, if you enter it here with no leverage, starts making sense as a portfolio diversifier. All right, I'll be honest. This level, I'm describing a world that operates by completely different rules, and I think it's important to be transparent about that. 25 crore rupees and above is the entry point into what SEBI classifies as ultra HNI territory. The Hurun India Rich List 2025 identified roughly 1,687 individuals in India with net worth above 1,000 crore rupees. But the 25 to 100 crore rupees range is where a surprising number of successful entrepreneurs, senior corporate executives, and real estate investors actually sit. People you'd pass on the street without knowing. Here's what's different at this level. The rules that apply to you are genuinely not the same rules. Not because of corruption or loopholes, but because structuring matters at this scale in ways that simply don't apply below it. Family offices, trusts, LLPs holding investment portfolios, offshore diversification, these aren't tax evasion. They're the legitimate architecture of serious wealth. The other thing that changes, time. Your relationship with time completely inverts. People building wealth trade time for money. People who've built wealth trade money to buy time back. Private aviation, household staff, professional management of everything from investments to household logistics. It's not about showing off. It's a rational economic decision when your time is worth 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees an hour. And psychologically, here's the truth that wealthy people rarely say out loud. The hedonic treadmill is real and it is brutal at this level. The first crore rupees felt life-changing. The first 5 crore rupees felt significant. By 25 crore rupees, many people report feeling roughly the same as they did at 5 crore rupees. The yacht is bigger. The apartment is nicer, but the baseline happiness? Research on this, and I'm thinking of studies from the likes of Nobel laureate Angus Deaton, suggests emotional well-being largely plateaus beyond a certain income threshold. The number keeps moving, the feeling doesn't. Look, here's what I actually want you to take away from all of this. Every level I've described has one thing in common. The people who moved through it fastest are not the ones who earned the most. They are the ones who started earliest. The math on this is almost unfair. A 25-year-old who invests 10,000 rupees a month will have more wealth at 60 than a 35-year-old who invests 30,000 rupees a month. More wealth, despite investing 3 times as much money, because of time. Here's what most people don't realize. You are not behind. You are standing exactly where you need to be to make the next decision.
The only question is whether you make it today or let another month pass while you think about it. The average first-time mutual fund investor in India today is still in their early 30s. The average Indian life expectancy is now 70. That means the average person is leaving 8 years of compounding on the table before they even begin, from the time they start earning to the time they start investing. 8 years of compounding is not a rounding error. At 12%, it's the difference between 3 crore rupees and 7 crore rupees at retirement. Alright, 3 things. Do all 3 this week. 1. Calculate your actual net worth today. Not roughly, exactly. Every account, every asset, every liability. Write it down. You cannot fix what you haven't measured. 2. Set up one SIP. If you have nothing running, start a nifty 500 index fund SIP at whatever amount doesn't hurt, even 1000 rupees. The amount matters less than the starting. You can always increase it next month. 3. Attack your most expensive debt. List every loan you have, rank them by interest rate, and put every spare rupee at the top of that list first. This is not exciting. It is the single highest return move available to most people in India right now. I'm not going to tell you this is easy. Building wealth in India in 2026, with real estate prices in metros completely unhinged, with inflation eating at purchasing power, with the pressure to keep up with everyone around you, is genuinely hard. But it is not impossible. And it is not magic. It's math, it's psychology, and it is time. You now understand all 3 a little better than you did 15 minutes ago. If this helped, hit the thumbs up. It genuinely helps this video reach people who need it. And if you have a question about your specific situation, drop it in the comments. I read them. Not all of them, but more than you'll expect. I'll see you in the next one.